It's time now for the Athlete of the Week, and it's presented by Diamond Point and Sauk Center here on Mid-Minnesota Sports. And with us today is a swimmer from Melrose. This is Mikayla Von Wahlde. Well, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's talk about your family first of all. Who's in your family?
My mom and dad, John and Sandy Von Wahlde, and I have two brothers, Cody and Jared. And my brother Cody is married to Danae, and they have two kids, Kylie and Jace, so my niece and nephew.
All right. How did you get going with swimming? How long you been doing it?
Well, my mom started off my brothers, I think, in swimming lessons, and my brother Jared, the second youngest one, he stuck through swimming from 7th through 12th grade, so I went to every one of his meets growing up until I was in 6th grade, and I did competitive swimming and swimming lessons. So I've been in swimming since probably I was 4 or 5 years old, I'd say.
Are you involved in other things at school?
I'm in synchronized swimming and NHS.
All right. How does synchronized swimming work here? Because it seems very popular. Take us through the history of that.
Yeah. Well, Melrose has had it for a long time, and I haven't heard of any other schools around here that have it, only in the cities, but it's pretty much like a musical, if you've been to a musical, and a couple of the students write each number. We have different songs that we perform to, and there's probably 10 to 12 numbers in the whole show, and we have lights, and we decorate the whole back of the pool, and we have 3 or 4 shows a year, and it's really fun to be a part of.
And how much practice goes into this?
Well, we start off probably the end of February, and first we have to learn the things on land, and then we go through it on land, and then we do it in the pool, and it takes a lot of time getting used to the places that you go. And then after a couple weeks, when we're getting closer to the show, we take our goggles off. So we don't use goggles in it at all. And that's like a whole new thing once you take your goggles off. It's like relearning everything. And then once we get to the show, it's ready to go.
And when you're doing that, when you're underwater, can you hear the music?
Well, they have a couple speakers that they put in the pool. There's maybe 4 or 5 around it. And it's pretty quiet for the most part until you pop your head up and there's people cheering. But yeah, you can hear for the most part.
What events are you in now in swimming?
I'm in the medley relay, 100 freestyle, 100 backstroke, and the 400 free relay.
All right. And you broke a record here at this pool that has been on that board for 32 years.
Yeah.
Right? And then what was that in?
That was the 100 backstroke, the pool record.
And what was your time?
Minute .32.
Take us through that race in particular. What was working well? Let's start at the beginning with the start. How did you start?
Well, it was kind of funny. I was in lane 4, and it was against Wilmer, and the girl in the lane next to me, right when she pulled up for the take your mark, she actually said 105, like out loud, so I could hear it, and it kind of messed me up a little bit. She got in my head, and I was like, that's weird. Like, normally you're thinking, all right, I got to go. I got to be ready to swim. But she was like 105. Like, I think that's what she was planning on getting, what she wanted to get. And it kind of not messed me up, but it made me change my thinking. So kind of took my mind off a lot of things and just I went out and did it instead of thinking about it. And it ended up being really good. Nathan said it was one of my best starts. So I guess it worked.
So as you're involved in a race like that, can you sense when you're doing better than other times and maybe on the other side when you're not?
Well, sometimes it normally doesn't hit until probably the second 25. You can definitely tell if your turnover isn't very fast. I also have Diana Nathy. She's very close to me in the backstroke. She's one of my best friends, and she's really close in times with me as well. And we've been swimming this event together for a long time. And if she's like right neck and neck with me, I know I gotta keep going. So, but we like to push each other, so it's good.
So as you swim then with your turns, how would you rate your turns? What is good and what isn't as good?
My underwater kicks off of my walls are not good at all. That's probably my weakest part of my race. And I'd say if I pop up at the flags or before the flags, it's a horrible turn. If I'm a little bit after it and I don't feel like I'm sticking in the water for too long, it's a pretty good turn.
As you're coming up to the wall then too, sometimes it has to work that you're short, you're too long. What happens then? How do you adjust?
Well, especially because I'm so tall. I mean, being 6'2" as a girl swimmer is hard for Nathan to coach. He hasn't really had anyone that tall, but it's different every time. It's just like any other stroke coming into the wall, and you really have to get used to the pool during warm up. But being short, you just got to curl up as far as you can. If you get too close to the wall, you just got to tighten up into a really small ball and see if it works. But if you're too far, you got to kick as hard as you can to get to that wall. So.
As you mentioned, as tall as you are, no pressure to play volleyball and basketball?
I love volleyball. I'm not good at basketball at all. I used to be in volleyball when I was younger, but didn't like the drama. And swimming, you're 100% you're gonna swim every meet. He can't take you out of a race unless you're sick or something that day. But in volleyball, you could be sitting on the bench. You could be. I mean, it's a team sport, and swimming is too. You get that individualness, and you get that whole team, and I love it. It's awesome.
It's easy to talk about success when you're doing well. How about on the other side? If it's not going as well, what happens then? Who do you talk to? What do you say to yourself, and where do you go from that?
When you say that, I think of my 9th grade year. That was not a very good year for me. I missed out on state by 0.03 of a second, and our medley relay just barely missed it from a DQ. And right when it happened, it just tore me apart. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've had to go through. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but after that first couple weeks, and your parents are there building you up, your friends are there. I mean, it's hard going to state and watching it and you not swimming there, but once you get over the fact that you can't change it, it's like you can either let it tear you down and just don't do good for the rest of the season, or you can build off of that and see what can I do next year to make sure that I go to state, make sure that I get there, make sure that I achieve my goals. And you really just need to get that right mindset and make sure that you're doing what you got to do every day.
How much does Coach Meyer help you in that regard?
Nathan has been a blessing. If I didn't have Nathan, I wouldn't be half the swimmer I am, honestly. He's been there. He's been my coach since I was a little girl, and you know, he's always got his things to tell me, and I think I'm very hard on myself. And most of the time, if I get out of a race and I know that it's bad, I know what I did wrong, and I'll say I did this, 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 and this, and he's like, "Yep, that's what I was gonna say." But he's always got that extra little thing to add in there that I didn't really think of. So.
And also, as you've grown up in this sport, you referenced your brothers, but there has to be other too. How about that? Mention some of those girls.
Gabby Sawyer has definitely been a good part of that. I've been swimming backstroke with her since 7th, 8th grade. We were always swimming together, so she's been a huge role model for me. Excuse me, and she's been very good. Another one is the Rasmussens. Any one of them. I didn't really know Samantha very well. She's graduated before I was in swimming, but her mom, Sandy Rasmussen, of course, and Sid and Steph have always been up there too. They've always been so determined, and they definitely put in the work at practice.
So let's take a swimmer like Gabby Sawyer, that you watch her work out, you watch her swim. What do you take away from that, and how do you use that?
I mean, Gabby and I are different in the fact that she could kill me in underwater kicks off my wall. Like, I'd be neck and neck with her, and then we'd hit a turn and she'd be a whole body and a half ahead of me. And it's hard to compare that, but her and I we'd always be swimming the same sets, and she really pushed me to do better to myself. You know, I'd think in my head during practice, I got to keep up with her. I gotta stick with her, and I think that really helped me. Another one was Rachel Kulzer, even in freestyle. I always tried to stick with her on the freestyle turns and sets and stuff like that, and she's helped a lot too.
As you look at training and just yourself, I notice with you do a lot of stretching. It seems a lot more than anybody else. What's up with that?
I have a lot of shoulder problems and back problems, and especially today, I know sometimes when my shoulders feel like they're gonna fall off. It's every day's, some are better, some are worse, but I know a lot of swimmers have shoulder problems, but yeah.
So as you're out here working out and training, and the shoulders hurt, your legs are dead, you have one more to do, what do you say to yourself? What do you tell yourself to get going?
Just one more. That's all you got to do. And you think about it, it's, you know, you break apart a set. They look hard on the board, but once you do the first couple, I mean, some of them are horrible, but you do one and then you do another one, and it's just like after you get going, you're halfway done. You got 2 more, you got 1 more, and just keep going.
You've been to the state many times in all your events. As you get up there and you look down each side and see who's there, does that play a part in your head? And how do you handle the pressure like that?
Well, I like to tell myself, don't worry about the other people in the other lanes. You have a lane, and use that. Like you got here for a reason. You need to use it, and you need to prove yourself. You know, anyone who said you couldn't do it, anyone who's doubting you, you gotta prove it. And if there's people alongside of you that, like, I know a lot of the swimmers that we compete against, and I like to tell them good luck. You know, I want them to do well too, and especially if I know that they're fast, I know I got to keep up with them, or I got to be ahead of them, and you just try and keep that in your mind as you're racing.
Well, because it's just you in the water, right?
Yeah,
nothing else?
Exactly.
All right. So, as you mentioned, goals now. Here you are, getting towards the end of the season. What kind of goals do you have here?
Well, at the beginning of this year, I used to swim IM last year, and Nathan said, you know, your IM is good, but you have a lot of stuff you could work on, and we're really focusing on your backstroke this year, and you're already pretty good at freestyle, so why don't we put you in 100 freestyle and see how it goes. So he switched me over to that this year, and I've been doing pretty good in it, and I think one of his goals for me, and it's a goal of mine too, is to make it to state in at least 2 individual events this year instead of just the backstroke. So I'm hoping to make it in the 100 free.
All right. I do want to touch on your teammates as well. What do they mean to you? Can you single out some of the girls out there?
They mean so much to me. I mean, especially a lot of the younger girls coming in. You know, the 7th graders, I try my best to know who they are, but they're in lane 1 and we're in lane 4, and we swim completely different times, and it's hard to get to know them. I try my best, but you know, just being a part of the team, being a part of just watching everyone grow, and everyone grow as a swimmer and as a person. You know, like the younger girls, Ashley Revering, Maddie Rosenberger, a lot of those girls. I mean, I looked up to a lot of girls when I was a swimmer, and I hope to God that they look up to me too. I do my best, and even some of the older girls, just being their friend, all these girls are my best friends. They're like my family. I could tell them anything. They could tell me anything, and it's amazing.
All right. Well, good luck. Hope to get to the state. Put your name up on that board a few more times, okay?
I'll try my best.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Mikayla Von Wahlde. She is the Athlete of the Week, presented by Diamond Point and Sauk Center here on Mid-Minnesota Sports.